Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of All About You. In today's video, I will be discussing some really cool meta material stuff. I haven't done this in a while, so this will be the second meta talk discussion where I go over a lot of the top decks that are dominating and most of the card choices that are being utilized for these decks to progress. Alright guys, so Mecha Frieza, the leader, is powerful. If you don't already know, which you should, since he is meta warping, his front side, as you can see, you are able to reduce the cost of an extra card by 1. And of course, when this leader awakens, you draw 2 cards. Now, bam! His flip side, we have the Tyranny, the card that a lot of players are complaining about because he's able to utilize cards like March of the Great Apes, which allows you to put in play free monkeys. Essentially 2 free monkeys and you draw 2. So if you get max value, you'll be able to get all of those effects off in one shot from that one card. And you still pick up a card from your life, so it keeps your total hand size balanced. You literally break even, which is amazing. But with that being said, that is what Mecha Frieza does in the Mecha Apes variant. There are other variants that are very strong as well, but Mecha Apes seem to be the most popular at the moment. And a lot of players are trying to figure out ways to beat the deck. And some already have found out the simple ways. A very simplistic method of beating the deck is simply having multiple attackers. If you can have one more attacker at least every turn than what they have to block with, then you will always guarantee a hit. Now, I will admit, Mecha Apes do play the combo cards, Shuigesh, and of course, Goku. Now, Goku is one of those cards where he can single-handedly stop any combos. So you can't be reckless. You don't want to overdo it and overcommit your entire hand or even multiple cards, because they could just Shuigesh into a Goku and just say, stop all of that crazy stuff. And now what can you do? You really can't do much, because they can easily just pop your guy in resting mode after he combos out whatever he has, or whatever you decide to put on that one character. So, gotta play smart, play tight, and make sure that you're always paying attention to how many copies your opponent is using of their cards, especially cards like Shuigesh. You want to always keep track of 10Ks being used in gameplay, but more so that one 10K. With that being said, Mecha Frieza in the 8 variant is very powerful. The standard builds are as such. You run 4 Dash Promo, you run 2 to 4 Bardoks, whatever you can get your hands on, to be honest. If you have 1, you play the 1. If you have 2, you play the 2. If you have 3, you'll play 3. Maybe 4 is not needed. It's up to the person to use their discretion. So there's a lot of flexibility in how you actually create the deck. Now, the main cards of the deck to make them functionable are cards such as Planet Vegeta. Planet Vegeta allows you to, if you're using Mecha Frieza, ping a card from your life into your hand. Now, it allows you to search your deck for a Saiyan that is 4 or less and add it to your hand. Now, what's so cool about that is that you can also fetch your apes. Most of your ape cards will be 4 or less, aside from the King Vegeta ape. So this allows you to get a lot of Shuigesh plays, Vegeta, King Vegeta plays, Vegeta Critical Monkey plays. Pretty much almost everything in your deck is searchable, which is amazing. It's so good. Moving on to the next card that is the heart of the deck is March of the Great Apes. March is basically the bread and butter, your main dish, your main course, however you want to seem fit. That card is extremely essential for you to hit off in gameplay using Frieza's effect. And what it simply does is, you reduce the cost by 1 or 2, depending if you're awakened or not. You drop as many, up to 2 of your apes from your hand into play. They have to be 4 or less. And then you draw 2 cards. So it helps you awaken because it's an extra card. If you're already awakened, you get to use it for super cheap. You get to put on 2 bodies on the board, and they happen to be blockers for the most part. Most of them will be blockers, except for King Vegeta, which King Vegeta you can't even play that way. So that is very, very powerful. It allows you to establish a game state which is very difficult for your opponent to get through, unless they run cards that can put cards into rest mode. In that case, then you can do some damage, or cards that stop your opponent from going into rest mode in terms of like using blocker effects, such as Mirror, the BCC promo. As you can see, this card, when it attacks, for its attack alone, you can prevent blocker. That skill is pretty much none and void for that turn. So it's pretty good for that card's attack. But there are ways to stop that card, and that card, if it's overwhelmed, it won't have that permanent for any longer than just a turn. So it's a card that you may actually want to play it regularly, pay the 4 energy, and not drop it for free, because you want to keep an effect like that for the remainder of the game. Unless you're going in for game that turn, then by all means, just free play Mirror and you're off to a great start, especially if you have a double strike in your hand, like double strike Champa, and you will be able to put some crazy pressure on your opponent. Now, there are other cards that go along with the deck. You have options. Some players play Sensu Bean, Objection, Whis Coercion, the blue package essentially, while other players may opt for some green cards and try to run a green Mecha Apes variant, which will run Kale, Khalifa, and basically the vegetable package, you know, which you'll have your Kaba as well. Now, those cards are very powerful, but they're a little more riskier with Apes because you already have enough cards in your deck that could take cards from your life area and add it to your hand. You're running now a card like Cleffa, which she's not enough. Honestly, she's not enough to warrant her being played, other than the fact that she can help you keep your board state very good on your favor by making your Kales essentially for free in terms of effects. Other than that, she'll be taking cards from your life area, which you won't want that if you have a lot of extra cards in deck. Then you end up making most of your other extra cards dead, which is not good because you don't want to have a bunch of extra cards in your hand that you cannot utilize, since you can only charge 1 energy per turn. So you got to keep very aware of that. Now, this is just generally what the Mecha Apes deck runs. There's other cards. If you want to see a Mecha Ape deck, you could watch my previous video with Katie, and she will go over some of her cards. Just be careful because the deck profile actually has 54 cards. She was shuffling through some cards and there was a lot of card choices she wanted to run, and she was not able to catch it on time and see that she had a few additional cards in. So if you watch that video, make sure that you make adjustments to it and have fun with the deck. It's still an operational deck. You may want to take out the blue Majin Boos because they're kind of extra. They're just more cycle fodder. So with that being said, just enjoy. Now, moving forward, we have the GT Mecha deck that people have been talking about. It runs cards like the extra card Grand Tour. It costs 2 reds, but with Mecha Frieza's effect, it'll down it to 1. Or if he's awakened, you pay 0, and you just free play a guy from the top 7 cards of your deck. Very good, strong, powerful. It can net you some cool advantages. But the card isn't essentially as free as how Monaka is, or how Objection or other cards in the deck are. And Objection still costs you 1, but it gives you a lot of your bang for your buck, so to speak. So that's something that you definitely want to look over when you're making a choice to play a card like that. They run the 1 kill turn package, which runs basically the Gokus that can search for Gokus, GT Gokus, and essentially you want to get your play out when you get multiple of the super rare, more like 2 or 3 out on the field by like turn 2 or turn 3, and you're swinging in for basically game lethal constantly because they have critical and they can attack multiple times, which is very strong and very powerful. So you just essentially want to do stuff like that so that it kind of limits your opponent's options and puts the game in your favor. That deck to me is a very good deck, but it's not currently the best in the format. there are other decks. If you could survive it, it doesn't do much damage overall in the longevity of the game. So that deck is more like of a I hit or miss type of deck. You either go in hard or you go home packing. So take it for what you will. Moving on to other decks that are popular. Ever since Peter Katani has came back from the state championship at PPG headquarters, he won the event with a Bardock. And not just any Bardock, we're talking about the Masked Man Bardock. So he won with that leader. Now, I'm not gonna lie, his deck is very nice. It was good for adjusting to the format, but I don't feel like it's all that hot. It's a good deck. It can win. It definitely can beat the Frieza matchup, but it will struggle against other matchups, and it can also struggle against the Frieza matchup depending on how they open versus how you open, which is pretty much all relevant in any card game. That's how it pretty much works. So you want to make sure that you open up better than your opponent, or you play smarter than your opponent to reap the benefits of the matchups. Now, that deck essentially runs a whole lot of Overwhelm cards. Yes, I said it. It runs a bunch of black cards, which normally under usual circumstances isn't the best thing you can do. However, in this deck, you can utilize so many tools since Bardock mills 3 off your deck. You have no option. You must mill 3, but it helps you build up your discard pile. Very good nonetheless. It is amazing for Overwhelm, and that deck typically runs the red variant. Peter Katani used a lot of red cards when he played in that tournament. And there are a few cards that he said to take out of his deck, like the Critical Trunks. He felt like it was unnecessary. He felt like running the small little chomper that searches the double strike would have been better. So he also gives you some advice on how to play the deck. Now, like I said, double strike is very important because you have a leader that has critical. Similar to how Vegeta was ran. You guys already know my Vegeta deck, the blue-red variant that I made popular with Gowasu. That deck was very strong because of its ability to fetch the double strike and fetch a lot of your key cards, including your 10K. Peter Katani's deck is a little different, but it is very consistent in being able to fetch stuff because of how Overwhelm works and how the ratio of your deck will be comprised of. So, overall, Mecha Frieza, Bardock, that version, and there are a few other versions like Pan. Pan is very good, but I'm not going to talk too much about her because she's more of a fair leader. She's not really unfair, which is why a lot of people are talking about the leaders that kind of make the game a little snapped in half, and that's why Mecha Frieza happens to be the talk of the town. So overall, this is the meta talk. Now I will actually release another video, which will be part 3, and I'm going to actually go in depth in how to play against the meta. So definitely stay tuned for that video. But I want to keep this short and sweet. As always, thank you for watching, and this channel is all about you.